Yes, YouTube, we are back for another episode, and today I'm joined by the wonderful, you've probably seen his networking events across the whole of the UK. I'm joined by none other than Mr. James Rogers.
Thank you for having me, sir.
James, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. You gave me the short block answer there, didn't you?
I did. We've got to stick with the basics, haven't we? How am I? That's a good question to start with. I'm very good. There's a lot of positive stuff going on. Generally, obviously you got your fires to fight as well, but that's life and that's business, isn't it? But on the whole, yeah, it's very positive. I feel very grateful for the life that I lead, and yeah,
I'm excited to dive into that, into your story, into what you've done, into where you are now. But before we do that, do you just want to introduce yourself to our channel? Just tell the people who you are, what you do, just so we can set the tone and then we can go into the conversation.
Yeah, so I'm James Rogers. I'm the founder of the Property and Poppadoms networking event. We're scaling very rapidly. It's been very well received across the UK. We've just recently launched internationally as well in Hong Kong. I'm also a broker at 978 Finance and investor as well, although I don't have much time to do that at the minute. So it's just the brokering and the networking events for the minute.
So you're a man who wears a lot of hats. Would you say that's fair to say?
And most importantly, a very proud dad as well.
Yeah, you can't forget that.
Yes, of course.
Your daughters won't be happy, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
And I've met your daughters, and they're very sassy.
They are. They've got a lot of character.
Of course. So, my friend, let's jump into it. So, rewind back. Who is James? How would your friends, how would your family at the time describe you growing up? Okay, so give me, what was childhood like? Where were you born? Where were you based?
So I was born in Devon. Had a great upbringing. Really, really great upbringing. We didn't have necessarily a lot of money, but there was a lot of love in the house. I wouldn't change my childhood for the world. I had a great upbringing. Mum and dad are still together, still very supportive. And yeah, it was just a normal sort of upbringing for a kid of that era. So you were out from early till late, and out playing football or whatever it was, and yeah, it was good.
And when I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, usually their story starts by selling sweets at school or doing entrepreneurial businesses. Did you do that?
I did a bit of that. I'd also worked from a very young age, paper rounds,
Nice.
stuff like that. We, obviously there's selling sweets at school stuff. I remember that one of my dad's friends had a load of trainers that they couldn't get rid of, so I got them delivered, boxes and boxes and boxes, to my mum and dad's house, and I started shifting them.
Nice.
Did
you make a bit of money?
Yeah, it was all right. Didn't manage to get rid of all of them because some of them were a bit garish, but it was like the trainers that you have in the lost property bin
that nobody really wants.
Yeah, that nobody wants. So that they I never got rid of those. But yeah, I did a bit of that, and yeah, it was just I was always fair. Well, I was always very driven. I always had an entrepreneurial mind, I'd say.
And what did you do after then? So you went to school. Did you go to college or uni?
No, I left school I started attending school on a part-time basis, let's call it, from about the age of 14. I didn't really get on with school.
Were you the little shit in the corner?
Little bit, yeah, a little bit cheeky chappy. Socially, it was brilliant. But in terms of me fitting into that classroom setting, I didn't get on with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was better for all parties. I think
for you to go part-time.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to ask you actually before we carry on, what is your thoughts on the education system in the UK? I'll give you my thoughts first. I personally think, so I left school about 10 years ago. I think it's designed to enslave us, to entrap us. It doesn't teach us the real life skills, in my opinion, for us to succeed in life or in business or managing money. What's your thoughts on the education system?
It's a very, for somebody like myself who later on in life, ADHD wasn't really
a thing then.
You were just naughty, boisterous. You were labelled as bad and all those negative connotations, when actually that wasn't the case at all. And I feel that, from a personal perspective, that the schooling system failed me, and had somebody understood, people that are very much like myself, and who you actually encounter a lot of in entrepreneurial and business circles. I think if that was a little bit more better understood at that point, school would have been a more positive experience. It's very, and it's got to be, I suppose, it's very sort of one size fits all approach. I would like to see some changes, and I do think that there are changes now, because it's very different. Like with the girls, they're at school and they do cater and understand these things a lot better than they did previously.
So if you're Prime Minister, give me 4 things you would change about the education system.
I would have choice. Some people are, better in an academic setting. Others are better with their hands.
Yeah.
And others are, are very creative. So I'd have an avenue for those different types of people, instead
of funneling them all into one system.
I'd have choice for different individuals. What that would look like.
That's the first thing.
I don't, I couldn't tell you. God, it was 3 things. What would I change? Another 2 things.
Would you introduce?
I'd give the option to go out into the employed world on an apprenticeship basis a bit earlier,
rather than 18.
Yeah. I'd definitely allow that as an option. And the last thing I would. God, the last thing.
Would you introduce money management or business?
Yeah, all of course, those things. But I think that sort of came in my different options. Route. But
would you not make that compulsory? Do you not think that's important for all of us to know growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think life skills definitely, as you've pointed out there, life skills and money management and the basics of adulting, we'll call it.
Not that kind of adulting.
But I think that would be my third choice.
Nice. I think we'd have a much more pragmatic and successful system if we did something like that.
Yeah, because you'd be catering to everybody, or as many as you can do with different options. Not too many options, but different options.
I don't know about you. Last time I used Pythagoras' theorem, can't even say the word, was at school.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I
just didn't say much for me.
I mean, it's the setup is the setup, and obviously we need to encourage and respect that, but we can also ask for change.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. So school, part-time with school, had a bit of a mixed experience, cheeky chappy. What happened after then? So you left school. Did you go into employment first?
Yeah, I went straight onto a building site.
Did you? Wow.
So I started out as I walked onto a site, and the first bloke I saw, unluckily for me, was a painter and decorator. Yeah. I always curse that decision, actually, but it's a great trade. But the other trades were earning a lot more. So at that point, I started out as a painter and decorator. Did that for a while. Then I went into. I got a bit fed up with that. I think it was about 21, 22, something like that. And I went into door-to-door sales, selling gas and electric, commission only for Scottish Power. I earned a lot of
I tell you what, I bet that taught you the power of resilience.
Yeah, I earned good money doing that, commission only. We would sort of go around various different sort of areas of cities and towns, both in the sort of southwest and South Wales. I earned very good money doing that. Then I came away from it and went back to decorating. Just self-employed. I used to do anything from house bashing, it's called, so just new builds, just plot to plot to plot, Maggie walls, white ceilings, white gloss work, up to sort of quite high-end jobs for a high-end joinery firm that I'd linked up with. And then I retrained as a plumbing and heating engineer.
Wow.
So I did that, and that took me up until I was about 31. And I suffer from asthma, so the dust on site.
Oh God, I bet that didn't do wonders for you, did it?
I was in and out. I was starting to have really, really serious asthma attacks.
Really?
So I was seeing the consultant, and they were saying, "Look, mate,
Back in.
you need to look at something else." And that's all I'd ever done, really. I didn't really know. Not that I hadn't looked into anything else, but at that point where you need to change something, it can be a bit fight or flight, can't it? And at that point, I started to get a bit, I suppose, flight with it, and I didn't really want to change. I liked what I did, but as chance would have it, in these situations, I was in Stoke-on-Trent by this time. I'd moved up there, and a friend of mine was a very prominent developer in the southwest. And I didn't know any of the terminologies. I didn't know raising private finance and, investor finance and all the rest of it. I just said, I phoned him up and I said, look, there's loads of cheap property up here. You might want to come up and have a look. So he came up and we looked around and he funded it. I found the deals, and we just used to buy through auction.
Oh, nice.
Not trading, but just buy at the right price.
Yep.
Add value, and then we would sell.
Oh, so you flipped?
Yeah, we would. That's all I did.
I guess you learned a lot in that.
Yeah, because I would, even though I wasn't on site full time by that point, I'd still jump in and do a bit to keep costs down and whatnot to make that return a bit better. I was probably doing a lot more than I should have been for the return I was getting at that time, but
sometimes we've got to do that, right? We have to grit our teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Do something that, let's say, on paper doesn't look like it's going to make us as much as we thought. But I bet the experience and the contacts and the knowledge you gain from that experience and the power of hard work, I guess that served you for later life, would you say?
Absolutely. I've always had a good work ethic. I mean, certainly the first project we did was quite... It went south in terms of exterior forces. So the project was priced correctly, bought at the right price, refurb was on track, on cost, on time.
Yeah.
But then somebody unfortunately got stabbed to death outside the front door, which a racially motivated attack. The chap had no connection with his attacker. It was just a random attack. They'd had a falling out in the street, and that was the first project, and that was obviously terrible. The chap's lost his life.
Terrible.
Really awful circumstances as well. Young chap, very, very sad. And that was the first one, but after that it wasn't. We thankfully didn't encounter anything of that nature, and all the projects went pretty well.
And let's fast forward then. So you did that, and then what made you get into brokering? Obviously, I know you said you had to take a step away from that, but did you go straight into brokering, or did you find something else before then? Or
no, so I was always, we were doing these flips and earning good money, and it was 2015. Well, I sort of go back a little bit. My son, I had my son when I was 21, and a lot of people, they don't know that I've got a son. He doesn't like me posting anything about him, and he's got his challenges currently, which we'll touch on later. But he moved up with us, or with me, full time around about that time. It was probably a little bit earlier, 2014, 2015, something like that. And then Fleur, my eldest daughter, was born, and then a couple years later that was followed by Fern. And we were doing flips, and we were making good money, but it was there wasn't really any long-term planning to it.
Was it just like, we'll do a flip, we'll do another flip, we'll do another flip?
Yeah, it was, and it worked. He didn't want to be retaining any of them because he had his developments and his other businesses down in the southwest. So the flip model was the only thing that he wanted to do and that worked for him. And then I got to a point where we'd built up a little bit of a pot of cash, and I started to think, I need to start buying some and holding them. Yeah. And I started looking into into that, and I came across some networking events, and up until this point I'd never been to a networking event in my life.
Yeah.
I had convinced myself that, you know, no education or lack of education or little education and no GCSEs, and you know, a networking event was absolutely not for people like me. I wouldn't be welcomed in. They'd be full of highly educated, university degree individuals. And it's something that I convinced myself, successful people, something that I had convinced myself that I wasn't. And I just steered well clear of them. So I started looking.
And was that out of a fear of not feeling good enough, would you say? Not feeling qualified enough?
Yeah, just it's those self-limiting beliefs, those
Yeah.
things that you convince yourself of, but they're actually completely incorrect.
Of course.
But if you tell yourself something so many times, then...
And we were saying this off camera, right? We were saying how amazing you've done, and I don't want to talk about it just yet, but we'll talk about Property and Poppadoms. And not looking back and seeing how far you've come, I think that's something that, as a friend, I see that I don't feel like you do enough. And I think blokes in general, we don't do enough of it, and we don't realise how far we've come. We're just like,
we're a nightmare for
we'll crack on and off we go.
You'll celebrate your mates' wins and you know, your families and anybody else's, but celebrating your own wins
It's
is
like cringe.
It's always a bit difficult for me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I back to your question, I was looking at retaining some of these, and at that point I'd never come across HMOs, or my vision of shared accommodation was the very sort of worn and torn student accommodations that we used to go back and have parties at from the local pub with the uni students
Back in the day.
yeah, back in the day, and that was my perception of it and vision of it. And I was looking around for networking events and, you know, retaining buy-to-lets, and then I came across HMOs and whatnot, and then I started going to networking events. I went to the Property Investors Network Stoke-on-Trent meeting, and I had a very, very good experience. It was the exact opposite of what I envisaged it to be.
Yeah.
And then I immediately enrolled upon the mastermind course.
Yeah, so you signed up to that.
And then
credit card at the back of the room kind of thing.
No, I had funds, you know, that we built
Yeah.
up from doing flips and whatnot. So I was able to. I was in a fortunate position that
You could afford it.
I could afford it. So paid for it and went on to that. And then my eyes were open to all of these different strategies that I'd never come across up until that point. Because in my mind, it was you had a property and it was a single let, and it was a very one track mind, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just really because I hadn't bothered at that point to do any research, which is quite poor of me, really. But we were in a it isn't broke, don't fix it mode.
Of course, if the model's working,
And it was working very, very well.
What's the most you made on a flip, if you don't mind me asking?
We generally made around about 25 to 30 grand average
Per flip?
Per flip. Some
nice.
Some were more, some were less. We would do anything from 3 to 6 a year.
Oh, nice. Making some good money then.
Yeah, we were making some really good money, and I had all the trades that we were working with. I'd already worked with them, or they'd come highly recommended from trades I had worked with. So the problems that I see very, very common with investors and managing their trades and having reliable trades, I just never had those problems. People knew what was expected of them. They knew when they had to turn up. They knew what they needed to do, and it was done.
And that was that.
Yeah.
And that was that. So you did the pin, you did the mastermind. Take us through. In fact, before we do that, off camera, me and you have had a conversation about how Property and Poppadoms actually started. I think you went through a very tough moment in your life.
Yes, I did.
It would be good if you'd be open to telling us what happened, how it happened, and what led you onto the path of success, which you're onto now.
So in 2019, my son at the back end of that year, he just had his 18th birthday, and he had a complete nervous breakdown, which was terrible for the family. obviously for him more so. He was very, very ill. We didn't know what was going on, what was wrong with him, the various different agencies that were coming out to assist, because mental health can be very complex, can't it?
Was it one day was fine, the next day had a breakdown?
It was literally
like that.
Somebody just flicked a switch. He was absolutely fine, and then wasn't. And it was a really, really stressful time of life. And of course, 2020, then COVID came.
Yeah.
Had a lot of projects ongoing, some in conveyancing, all of that going on. So I sort of had to finish off the projects that we were doing and pull out of the other ones that we had in conveyancing for a number of reasons. I just didn't want to because of what was going on. All the indicators were suggesting that actually it wasn't going to affect the housing market as severely as everybody thought initially. But I didn't want to take that chance and heap more stress into an already stressful situation.
And how did you feel, if you could put it into words, seeing your own son go through that? That must have been horrendous.
It is and continues to be. You don't know what to do. You want to make it better, you can't.
Of course.
It's a very long process. Obviously, you can assist in that process by being there for him, assisting where and when you can. Mum and Dad have been very, very supportive throughout the whole situation. He's still very unwell, a lot better than he's been, and he's the best he's been, but still he couldn't go out and work and do everything that we consider to be normal.
And do you think there will become a point where he gets to that point? Are you still hoping for that day?
I hope so. He's really, really made leaps and bounds recently, and I'm very, very proud of the progress he's making and the person that he's becoming, and the fight that he's got in him, because he was.
Gets that from his dad, doesn't
he? he's very, he is very, very resilient, although he doesn't realise it.
Yeah.
But it's about, again, understanding through your own battles that you actually are resilient, and you can get through a lot more than you believe you can.
And do you think that's fueled you to get to where you are today? Partly,
yeah. I mean, following on from that, so he had a nervous breakdown at the end of 2019. 2020 was COVID. 2021, my relationship had been, or my marriage had been not been good for a while. So that led me to file for divorce in early 2021.
Just to get a little bit deeper into that, what do you think causes breakdowns in marriages and relationships?
Communicating effectively, is a biggie.
Yeah.
If you can't communicate effectively with each other and have difficult conversations, I think well-meant difficult conversations, then it's you are not setting yourself up to fail, but it's going to be a lot more difficult, because it's not life, business, it's not a bed of roses.
No.
There are going to be very, very tough times that you need to pull together, and you do need to pull together.
Of course.
If you can't do that, then it makes things a lot more difficult. And
how did that situation going through that, did it impact you just mentally, financially, both?
Oh, yeah, hugely. I mean, family is immensely important to me. Like I said, mum and dad had created a wonderful upbringing, loving family, still very supportive, very loving now, and that's my sort of yardstick for what I wanted for my children. I do feel, I feel pretty gutted that I haven't been able to provide that family unit for them. However, you can still be supportive and loving as a single parent. It's been a difficult process, and it was a difficult process. It essentially cost me everything financially. I walked away from it with nothing.
Literally.
nothing. I had opportunity, of course, in terms of, I had a job and I could keep a roof over my head, but everything went.
When you say everything, let's dive into that.
So the portfolio,
yeah.
savings, everything, it was
Strict.
highly acrimonious. I still, unnecessarily so. Of course, there are two sides to every story, and I don't really want to get into the hows and the whys,
Yeah.
but it's, the fact of the matter is everybody walked away with nothing. And I'm, I was a bit older, or I am a bit older than my ex-wife. So I was sat there, everything had gone, and I just had one of those like moments. You feel sick, like everything's gone. Everything you've worked your whole life for has evaporated.
And would you say that still affects you today? Is there some mental scars from that?
Yes, definitely. And I think that comes back to congratulating yourself on, as we spoke about earlier, on your wins. And I do feel that, and I shouldn't, but we all have our little quirks. I don't celebrate my wins really as much as I should do, or at all really, because I think I got myself into that rut of you should be further ahead than you are. And actually, I'm really proud of what we are achieving in terms of Property and Poppadoms. I'm really proud of what I've had to overcome, because at that time as well, there was also a relocation battle with the girls. So there was a suggestion that they were going to move to Cornwall,
And you were like,
and I didn't believe that was in their best interest. So I was going through self-representing in the divorce. I had to self-represent.
No solicitor?
No, I had to self-represent in the family court against solicitors, barristers, throughout the entire process. Yeah, and I had to fight for that. And I just went in there and I just thought, right, I was really anxious, intimidated, scared, fearful, all of those things. But when I got in there, I thought, right, you've got to get that out of your mind. You've got to fight for what you believe is right and correct. And I believe that children should have equal access to both parents. And you hear the horror stories about the courts, and obviously being a dad, there you can really go down a rabbit hole with that. And actually, I found the courts to be very reasonable, very measured, very balanced, and a fair outcome was reached in terms of the courts ruled in my favour, and they didn't believe that taking the girls down there was in their best interest.
Because you hear a lot about, as you say, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but the system being rigged against men, and the paternal side of things, not being in favour of the man. But it's good to know that you had that positive experience, let's say.
Yeah, I think that it is how you present yourself in any given situation. If you go in there gung-ho and you've convinced yourself that the courts are there to screw you over, then likely that will probably happen.
And that's like a wider message in life. If you believe you're this and you're not successful, you're not this, you're not that, you will then reflect that in your energy and your vibe, in the way you carry yourself. But if you believe that you are a good person, you do good things, you are good at what you do, then the good things tend to...
It's self-fulfilling, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Either way.
I believe that.
And that was just a really... I cannot tell you how difficult that time was. And on top of that, throughout that time, the doctors, they diagnosed me with COPD.
What's that?
So COPD is a degenerative lung disease.
Wow.
And so your lungs basically lose efficiency.
And was that as a result of...
Well, luckily, they said they'd misdiagnosed me about 12 months later, and they actually said it was acute stress. So you don't mimic symptoms like that if you genuinely aren't under acutely stressful situations. So it was like blow after blow after blow, and some days I will be completely honest, I was really quite unwell for a period.
Was there ever a day or a time where you didn't want to wake up?
Yeah, most days for that period. Really, I just getting out of bed was a victory at some days. I was really suffering, really suffering. And I did the right things. You don't then drown your sorrows, and so I cut out everything that was negative, or that would make me feel worse, and I delved into positive aspects and routines. And of course, look, I think for a little bit it was very woe is me. And I sort of had to get out of that mindset, but it was difficult for a period because everything just collapsed before my very eyes, and it was difficult to process. So I sought help through talking therapies with a counsellor, and I'd sort of seen him for periods before that for quite some time, because like I said, the marriage was very difficult for some time, and then Adam becoming poorly and whatnot, and he was and continues to be. I still go and see him sort of once every few weeks. Even though things are going great, it's not that I feel like that anymore, but you can still learn so much about yourself, and it's about peeling back those layers of
like an onion.
and understanding, right, how do I operate, how can I become better, and just understanding how things are sometimes, good and bad. So, and he's been absolutely brilliant for me, and he's one of the few people that hasn't been sort of judgmental. He's listened, he's genuinely cared, and I'm a far better person and in a far better place for it.
Amazing. And look at you now, and I was again saying this off camera, what you've achieved is phenomenal, and I think you should be very proud of yourself, mate.
Thank you.
No,
I
it's fine.
appreciate it.
Just being honest. So let's move on from there now. So you're going through all that tough times, you're getting blow after blow, this and that was going on. How did you frame that into Property and Poppadoms? How did it start? Where did it start? And let's go into that.
So, I mean, it sort of that period of life runs seamlessly into the start of Property and Poppadoms, because it was the beginning of November 2022, and that was everything was gone. That was it, and I really crumbled at that point, and I just thought, right, I'm actually starting to get a bit concerned here,
because there's two options: you either carry on crumbling, and God forbid something terrible happens,
exactly,
or you turn it into a positive.
And that was what I decided, because I thought, right, you got the girls, you got Adam, you've got to sort of get back on your feet. So I made a decision that was going to be it. I was going to get back on my feet, and I didn't know what to do. And I sort of hate referring to people as entrepreneurs, but I sort of said to myself, right, mate, well, you're meant to be entrepreneurial. Do something entrepreneurial. So I sat back and I thought, I need to get out there, because at this point I was I'd gone into finance as well, and I really, really love what I do. And I'll sort of get on to 978 a little bit later, because I didn't join there for a little bit sort of after this point. So it's November 2022, the beginning of November 22, everything's gone, and I was just like, oh. I won't repeat what I said, but word for word.
Say it.
No, no, because I swore quite a few times.
A few F words, a few S words.
Effing and jeffing. And I thought, right, I need to get back out there. So a networking event. I need to start a networking event. And I go to a lot of networking events, as you do, and it should be a core element of everybody's business. Building those connections is invaluable. So I thought a common theme I would hear is that I wish somebody do something a little bit different. People felt that for the vast majority of networking events, they were quite stale. They just needed a bit of a freshen up. And I'd like to be very clear, there's some brilliant networking events out there.
And there still are.
Yeah, and now, absolutely. But I thought, right, well, somebody's going to have a go at it. So why can't it be me? So I thought, well, everybody loves a curry. And everybody loves a beer with a curry. And I thought it's relaxed, it's informal, it's a little bit different. So I sent out some messages, some emails, made some calls, and I said I'm starting up a networking event in Stoke-on-Trent where the first Property and Poppadoms was, and got a few people, and 8 people turned up.
Nice.
To that first event.
Better than none.
Oh yeah, better than none, not as good as 80. But yeah, so 8 people turned up, and it seemed to go down well. Then a few months later, the numbers started to increase a little bit, and then it really started to increase quite quickly.
What was the secret? What was the learning that you could give to the audience that allowed you to go and scale quickly like that? I think I was lucky, I think, to a certain degree, but I just made sure I just stuck to the core elements of a networking event. Yeah. Is it of value, and has the person felt welcomed? 2 things, yeah.
So I just thought, if I'm ticking 2 very simple boxes, which are actually quite difficult to tick, because you're adding value to every single person in that room, yourself included, can be quite difficult. But I tried to do that as much as I could. I sort of toyed with the theme as the year went on. And then I started to have people turning up from Bristol, Kent, like Newcastle, Carlisle. And this is to Stoke-on-Trent. And with the greatest of respect to Stoke-on-Trent, it's a brilliant
place. I've heard
place.
Stoke is the centre of the world, mate.
It is, the Costa del Stoke. But it's like, you're not wanting to go there on a Wednesday night from the four corners of the country.
Have you seen the saying on the football, cold Tuesday night in Stoke?
Yeah, well, it's a Wednesday night. But yeah, I should have put it on a Tuesday night. But yeah, so people were turning up, and we were getting decent numbers, and word was starting to spread, and people had heard about it throughout the country. And I got to about 6 months in, and I thought, oh, I think I've got something here. So I toyed with the format of it a little bit more, and I thought I need to get it to a position where I can just plonk it anywhere. So it's systemized as much as it can be, and it's a meeting in a box where I can just plonk it anywhere. So I thought the test of this is launching a second meeting. So I launched the second meeting. That's the Cheshire East meeting, which is actually closer to me than the Stoke meeting, and there are a few teething problems with that, but that was more the setup than anything else. And then I thought, to the back end of that year, so November 2023, we had 100 people turn up to that meeting.
Wow.
And I thought, right, I'm pretty confident I've got it licked at this point of its journey and its process. So I thought, when I launch and when I start scaling, I need to be really aggressive, because it's easy to mimic. And I thought I need to be everywhere before anybody can even think about stepping into that space.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So January of 2022, we had 2 meetings, and I started at speed.
Just going for it.
And remember, I've still got no money here.
So you're bootstrapping it.
I'm having to do everything on
the cheap.
On the cheap. I remember I had the Birmingham South meeting, I had the Kent meeting, I had the Essex meeting. So I drove down to Birmingham on the Friday, sorted the venue out there. Drove down to Kent. I think it was either I'd got that. I can't remember whether I did the Kent on the Friday or the Kent on the Saturday. I can't remember. But I slept in my van overnight. Wow. And for me, it was no problem at all because I'm a fisherman. So I've camped in really horrendous conditions for the love of the sport. So it's me sleeping in the back of the van on my bed chair.
It was actually a bit of a luxury.
Yeah, it was actually, it wasn't too bad at all. But I'd managed to sort of get everything sorted on the cheap. So I'd sorted those venues out sort of over the Friday and the Saturday. Went back up north. And there are a couple of other venues that the hosts sorted out locally, and that was it. We launched a good handful that month.
Amazing.
And still, the meetings were free at this point as well. So I had a budget of about £20, and that was going on to Eventbrite. So the cost was £20 a month, and then that was service Eventbrite until it started to become self-sufficient.
And how did you? I want to know this. So, giving the audience some value here and the art of negotiating. So, how did you approach the venues? Did you say, look, give us the venue for free and we'll bring you football, or did you deal with them?
I didn't have anything. So, because initially the Stoke venue, they said, this is £100 for the room. When I wanted to move out of the main restaurant, because at first we were just in the main restaurant, all sat round a table talking about property,
like a mastermind,
sort of thing. Yeah, just whatever. There were no speakers, there was nothing like that. But then we got to a point where I needed that back room, and they said, "Oh, we want £100 for this." I thought, well, I haven't got that at the minute, and I know that sounds really depressing. A grown man, but I didn't have anything spare because I'd only really just gone into finance at that point.
Yeah. So things were getting off the ground.
Yeah. So things were getting off the ground. I was just on my salary, and that's where I was at.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh no, it's no problem. I've spoken to the restaurant down the road, and they're happy to house it. So we'll go over there."
Yeah.
No. You can have the room for free. I said, that's no problem. I'll make sure the people are here.
Yeah.
And
they'll get their business.
You get the business. We get the room for free. Yeah. And that basically, I just followed that theme through all of the other venues. I piggybacked off the success of the Stoke meeting, because these other meetings, they're like Property and what's that?
Was it always called Property and Poppadoms?
Yeah.
From day one?
I think about the third or fourth meeting, it was Property and Poppadoms.
Yeah. I love it. It's such a ring to it.
Yeah, it's quite catchy, and it's memorable as well.
And the hoodies, I want one of them soon.
Yeah, we'll have to sort you one out, mate. I would show them, video content and from the Stoke meeting. I say, look, this is what we've got going on here. This is what you to expect in your venue. It was an easy sell for them, really, by that point. Some weren't up for it, but we just went somewhere else. And, the Stoke meeting's still going at the same venue. We must have put, thousands of covers through that restaurant now.
So it's a good strategic partnership, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it works well. And it works well, and it's creating win-win situations for everybody.
That's what business is about, right?
Exactly. So, because if we had to start paying for the rooms,
it'd have been a bit more complicated.
And I suppose I'd like to touch on as well the reasons that I started it up. Some are obvious because, like I said, I needed to get out there, but others aren't so obvious, and then they're not so seen and known because of where I was at personally at that time. It was a great mental distraction for me, and it took my mind away from what was going on in life at that moment in time, and the troubles and the stresses. And I thought, if I can create something that's value and fun to somebody, and it takes their mind away from a difficult situation that they're having in life as well, then that really meant, or still means, a lot to me. And that's why I'm big on you've got to be welcoming. They've got to feel welcomed. And I do think that all of the hosts do that exceptionally throughout the country.
Shout out to the hosts.
I couldn't do it, but I'm so very.
I know
very
a few
lucky.
of them, great guys.
Yeah, they're really, really talented businessmen
guys.
and women, and they work really hard every month. They to put that feeling into their meetings and their setups, and I couldn't do it without them. It's nothing. The whole setup is, it doesn't function without them, and they do a great job.
And they all need to buy into your vision and what you're trying to do. And
yes,
it goes on to my next question: is tell us how you've scaled, where you're at now, and I want to know what can we expect from Property and Poppadoms over the next 1 to 2 years and beyond.
So we have scaled purely by people buying into the vision, and that's really, really important if you're looking to do anything. People have got to buy into and share your vision of what success and what successful outcome looks like and means. So luckily for me, they did, and I've got, as we've already said, I've got some amazing hosts. Well, they're all amazing, and that's how we've managed to scale. We've managed to scale through people that are fully invested in the vision.
And what's next? Can you tell me? Can you reveal what you've got up your sleeve, my mate?
So our target for this year is 50 meetings, which we are on target to hit. We will also very, very shortly be launching a subscription model. I hope it's going to be a little bit different, as Property and Poppadoms is, and I hope it's received like that. That should be launching next month, September. Nice. So this is hot off the press. Nobody knows this.
Exciting.
And it's just about adding that another layer of value. And I'd like to be very clear that it's not going fully subscribed, so people can still attend the meetings on a meeting by meeting basis, but they can also benefit from the subscription models and the tiered system that we'll be launching, and we're just in the final stages of sorting out. And then as well, we have become a bit fed up with the property educators.
Okay.
And that sector of the industry.
So you're coming here to disrupt.
Yeah, so as we've done with Property and Poppadoms, we've disrupted the networking scene successfully. We plan to do that on the educational side of things as well. There's not going to be any of these stupidly priced courses. It's going to be low cost, exceptionally high value, as the meetings are. You can do a standalone day. So we plan to, and I'm just again finalising the last few pieces, but we plan to run a different strategy or a different area every month of next year. It's going to be very low cost, and it's going to be really, really high value though, because we've got the leading
people,
individuals and organisations within our industry. They're on board with it, and we're really, really excited about launching that. It is going to be very limited numbers though.
Of course.
I don't at this point wish to get into
we can
arenas and all the rest of it. I can't.
And are you going to ever do like a big national event, any conferences in the pipeline?
We're because the subscription model, what we've done in the background has been very costly. So that's drained all of the resources up until this point. But we're getting to a point where that's nearly finished. So we'll be launching that soon, and then there will be some spare funds for national events as well, which I would have liked to have done one up until now. But
are we going to see one next year?
I'm hoping that we can get one in this year.
Okay.
I'm hoping. But it's we'll have to see. But it all boils down to the support, and we're very, very lucky. We've got
a warm community.
As much as the hosts are brilliant as well, the delegates are brilliant too. They're very supportive. There's a lot of choice out there, and we're very fortunate. We're very lucky that they choose to come to us every month.
Learn from you guys. Yeah.
Again, I think it's because it's been positioned as such, with the right intentions, that shines through. So I feel I'm really, really grateful.
And I've had the pleasure to speak at a few of your events.
Yes.
And all I can say is you can see the passion for the hosts.
Yeah.
And you can see the community spirit. And even when I went to Belfast, and I think I met you in my hometown of Huddersfield.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's how we started working together. And I think it's brilliant. I've loved the events. I've done, I think, 4 or 5 now. I want to do a lot more over the coming years.
You're more than welcome to, mate.
And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I like I say, I know I keep repeating myself, but I do feel very grateful, very humble for the position I'm in, the people that I've got to meet, the people that I'm going to meet, and it's like I'm sort of living my dream. We've created something that's genuinely of value, that's fun, and I can guarantee that there are some people going through a tough time, whether that's business, whether that's personal, whether that's both, and they're coming to some of the events possibly for a bit of respite and just take the mind off it, and that's really, really a really important aspect of it to me, because it's not all about business. It's about relationships. Yeah, and having a good time. It's the relationships. It's the sort of the hosts and the delegates first.
Of course, making sure that they get the best experience.
Yeah.
And James, just to round this off now, my friend, if you could be remembered for anything, what do you want your legacy to be when you leave this earth?
Oh,
it's a bit of a deep question.
I'm probably going to be remembered for curry. But I think everybody just thinks I live on curry. Like, I'll go to a networking event in the morning and they'll go, "Have you had your curry?" Like, no, it's like,
how many curries do you have a week?
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's all about the pastries at this time of day. Not so many now. I mean,
were you quite bad before?
There was a time where I was,
to be fair, I've been seeing your fitness journey.
And big shout out to the Optimised Entrepreneur as well.
Shout out to Archie.
Yeah, Archie and Alexandra, they've done an amazing job. I'm completely transformed. I'm actually starting to see the benefits of the training that I've been doing. I feel amazing working with those guys, and they are really, what they've set up and how they run their operation is very much like Property and Poppadoms. They genuinely care. It's personalised, it's well thought out, and they want to do, and they're passionate about doing a good job.
Of course. No, shout out to them.
So back to your question, how would I like to be remembered? It's going to sound a bit, but I just want to be. It's very simple. I'm a simple chap. I just want to be remembered as a good dad, a businessman that cares,
businessman with a conscience.
Yeah. And I'd be happy with that. A good friend, good person.
And you're a great client.
Yes, thank you.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is another episode done with the wonderful Mr. James Rogers. James, again, thank you very much for coming on. I think what you've built is amazing. Keep on doing what you're doing. Looking forward to seeing the events. Looking forward to seeing how you and your business grow. And, much more to come.
Thank you, sir.